الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So, what have we taken so far? What have we taken so far? Go on, Akhi. Okay, so there was the two groups that fell short in what? With regards to La ilaha illallah. The meaning. So right now we've been discussing what does La ilaha illallah mean. That's all we've done. The last 3 lessons. The first lesson on the topic of the meaning was, what does it actually mean? And then we said, let's look at the people who got the meaning wrong. Because when you understand the opposite of something, it helps the other thing become clearer, right? Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to get into the crux of what this series is actually about, which is the conditions of La ilaha illallah. The conditions. So, firstly, we have to establish what a condition is. We took the term pillar in the first couple of lessons, right? A pillar is something that is within the action. We talk about the pillars of Islam, or the pillars of the prayer, or the pillars of the wudu, or the pillars of this, or the pillars of that. The reason why they're called pillars is because they're inside of the action. The same way the pillars of this building are inside this building. They hold up the building. The pillar's not going to be outside the building, is it? If you take this pillar and put it outside the building, what happens? It doesn't benefit the building. Do you see what I'm saying? So the same way, the pillars of the salah, of the prayer, are things like Surah Al-Fatiha. That's a pillar of the prayer. The sajda is a pillar of the prayer. The ruku' is the pillar of a prayer. So these are all pillars of the prayer. They're inside of the prayer. But the prayer also has certain conditions. The conditions are the things that you do before the prayer even starts. Does that make sense? The conditions are the things that you do before the prayer even starts. For example, anyone know the conditions of the prayer? So the niyyah, the intention, good? Pardon? Tahara, right?
That's before.
So tahara, good.
That's like your niyyah. You don't say like when you do start your prayer, I'm going to pray this much for a
Right, yeah, you don't actually say the niyyah on your tongue, but it's in your heart. So good. So right now we've got 2 conditions. You've got the intention that comes before the prayer. You've got the tahara which comes before the prayer. What about your private parts? That's to be covered, right? Satrul awra, your awra has to be covered. That comes before the prayer even starts. Okay? What about the place in which you're praying having to be clean? Izalatul najasa, the removal of filth from the place in which you're praying. Does that take place during the prayer or before the prayer? Before the prayer, right? What about facing the qibla? Do I start the prayer then face the qibla, or do I face the qibla then I start the prayer? It comes first, right? These are conditions because they come before the action. Does that make sense? You want to mention another one? Tamyiz, which is the age of puberty, or the age of being able to be in control of your mind, and so on and so forth. Sanity, being a Muslim. Imagine I pray and I'm a Christian. Will the prayer be accepted? No. So he has to come with Islam before the prayer. Does that make sense? You have to come with Islam before the prayer. What about if I pray in a time when the prayer hasn't come? So then the time of the prayer entering is a condition to the prayer because it comes before the prayer. So then when we say what are the conditions of this particular action, what we mean are what are things that you need to do before you perform the actual action. So then the same way the prayer has pillars which are inside of it as conditions that come before it. The same way La ilaha illallah, which is a statement that you say, it has pillars which are things that come inside of it. And we've already taken the pillars when we took the meaning. The 2 pillars are negation and affirmation. To negate all other false gods, worship besides Allah, and to affirm ibadah only for Allah Azza wa Jal. Those are the pillars of La ilaha illallah. But what are the conditions of La ilaha illallah? So automatically, when I say conditions of La ilaha illallah, in your mind, what you should be thinking is, okay, there are certain things that I need to bring to the table, certain things that I need to come with before I even say La ilaha illallah. And if I say La ilaha illallah without having come with these conditions, then my La ilaha illallah is going to be rejected. My La ilaha illallah is going to not be accepted. It will be haba'an manthura. Like on the day of judgment, when the people are going to come with deeds, it's going to be like scattered particles, like dust just scattered everywhere. It's not going to weigh anything on the scales. And a proof of this is in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to us about the hypocrites. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what did he say about the hypocrites? He said, إِذَا جَاءَكَ الْمُنَافِقُونَ If the hypocrites, they come to you, O Muhammad, if they come to you, the people who are hypocrites, they pretend to be Muslim, if they come to you, قَالُوا نَشْهَدُ إِنَّكَ لَرَسُولُ اللَّهِ They say, we take the Shahadah and we bear witness and we testify, Muhammad, you are the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They take the Shahadah, right? They come with the Shahadah. Allah said, وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ إِنَّكَ لَرَسُولُهُ Allah said, Allah knows that you're the messenger of Allah. Allah doesn't need these hypocrites to come and testify that you're the messenger. Allah said, Allah knows that you're the messenger of Allah. وَاللَّهُ يَشْهَدُ But now Allah takes a Shahadah. Allah takes a witness. Allah bears testimony. What does he say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاللَّهُ يَشْهَدُ إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَكَاذِبُونَ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala testifies and bear witness that these hypocrites, they're liars. They're liars. Now pay attention. I want to really dissect the meaning of this ayah. A group of people came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they said, La ilaha illallah wa nashhadu annaka Muhammadan Rasulullah. They took the Shahada. Did they say it? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He testifies and bear witness that they are liars. Meaning, they're saying it, but it holds no weight. So then what does that show you? Merely saying it does not benefit you. There is something that they were supposed to have come to the table with before they even said it. So saying it in the absence of what was required for them to come with prior is going to render that testimony baseless. And you'll be shocked when you learn this today, how many Muslims say La ilaha illallah, but they don't know these things. And they don't come with these things. And because they don't come with these things, their La ilaha illallah holds no weight. I'll tell you a story. I teach a sister's class every Saturday. And there was a sister who's a revert, and she came to the class. And when I taught this, and she'd been revert for 2 years. When I taught this, at the end of it, she was like, Subhanallah, I need to take my Shahadah again. She was like, I actually never knew any of this stuff. And no one ever taught it to me when they were giving da'wah to me. And I've just literally learned it today. So imagine that. I had to retake the Shahada in the class. Now, alhamdulillah, she's solid now, mashallah, Allahumma barik. But the point is, nor do the people who are the general laymen know this, nor the people who are giving da'wah know this. Nor do the people who are giving da'wah know this. I'm going to tell you something. And some of you are going to get shocked. But the only reason I have no problem mentioning it to you, because it's not a fitna for me, because it means nothing to me. But how many people do you think I gave Shahada to? That I gave da'wah to and he took Shahada at my hand? How many people do you think? Take a number, take a guess.
2 million?
No, akhi, that's a bit mad. Reasonable guess, please. An educated guess. No, akhi, that's mad. 2,000. People have been given da'wah for their whole lives, they haven't even given 2,000. God. Less than 200. Huh? About 125 to 150. And that was only in 3 years of giving da'wah. I gave da'wah to people at my hand. I gave Shahada to about 125 to 150 people. Majority in the UK, people in Norway. I remember one trip we went to Norway, 20 people took Shahada. At the da'wah table, sometimes 4 people would take Shahada from me. Around the world. But shall I tell you something? All of those Shahadas were baseless. They were all baseless. Because when I was giving them da'wah, what is da'wah to? La ilaha illallah, right? It's true. La ilaha illallah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Mu'adh ibn Jabal when he sent him to Yemen, he said, إِنَّكَ تَأْتِي قَوْمٍ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ فَلْيَكُنْ أَوَّلَ مَا تَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَيْهِ شَهَادَةُ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he sent Mu'adh to give da'wah, he said, the first thing you call them to is La ilaha illallah. Now, I jumped ahead of the race. I jumped ahead of the gun. I started giving da'wah before I started seeking knowledge. Before I had any understanding of La ilaha illallah. So little did I know that I myself didn't have the knowledge. And al-faqidu shay la yu'ti. The person who's empty, he can't give. So if I don't have the knowledge of La ilaha illallah myself, can I give it and pass it on to someone else? I can't. So all day, every day, I'm talking to people. And all day, every day, they're taking Shahada with me. But what am I teaching them? The Shahadah is at the time they take it. I say, there's no God except Allah. And they would say that with me. I'll say, okay, say it now. Ashhadu. And they would say, Ashhadu. And La ilaha illallah. And they would say it after me. And then I'll say, okay, let me translate so you know what you're saying. There is no God. They say, there is no God except Allah, except Allah. What's wrong with that? Is that not the Shahadah? So what's wrong with that? There are other gods, right? Number one, that's one thing that's wrong with it. What else?
To be worshipped.
Okay, good. The point of the Shahada is not to prove that Allah exists, rather it's to prove that Allah is the only one that you worship. Because the prophets, as we've previously taken in the other lessons, they never came to teach people that Allah is the only God in existence. Because they always believed that. And even if they did, even if you do convince someone, Assalamu alaikum, even if you do convince someone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He exists, is that enough to make you a Muslim? No, why? As Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab ibn Sulaiman al-Tamimi rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned in his Al-Qawa'id al-Arba'a, he said, أن تعلم أن الكفار الذين قاتلهم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مقرون أن الله هو الخالق الرازق المحيي المميت المدبر لجميع الأمور. He said, have knowledge of something. What is it? That the kuffar to whom the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was going to give da'wah and he was fighting with them and so on and so forth because of their kufr. He said that those kuffar, the kuffar of Quraysh, they believed Allah was the creator. They believed Allah was the provider. They believed Allah was the one who controlled everything. They believed He was the one who gave life. They believed He was the one who gave death. They believed this about Allah. وَلَمْ يُدْخِلْهُمْ ذَلِكَ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ. But despite the fact that they believed Allah created them, Allah provided, Allah sustains, despite the fact that they believed all these things about Allah, وَلَمْ يُدْخِلْهُمْ ذَلِكَ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ, that did not cause them to enter into Islam. So when I gave da'wah to these people, and then they took their shahada, I brought them, if anything, to knowing exactly what the Quraysh knew. I brought them to the same level of Abu Jahl. Or maybe I brought them to the same level of Iblis, because even Iblis knows Allah exists. Iblis says, what do he say? He said, Rabbi, my Lord, anzirni ila yawmi yub'athun. He said, let me live to the day of judgment. So what does that show you? Shaitan, he knew that Allah was Rabb. Rabb means creator. Rabb, if you believe someone's your Rabb, it means he created you. It means he controls you, right? He owns you. So then, not just that, the fact that Shaitan said, Rabbi anzirni ila yawmi yub'athun. Let me live to the day of judgment. What does that show? Iblis also knew what? The day of judgment exists. Not only that, he even knew that Allah has the ability to extend your life. So Iblis knew all these things. If I told you, Akhi, what does it mean to believe in Islam? You'd probably suffice yourself with saying, to believe that Allah created you, Allah exists, there's a day of judgment, Allah controls everything. Now you think, well, this guy's a Muslim, right? Like Allah said about Iblis, Aba, he rejected, wastakbara, became arrogant, wa kana min al-kafir, and he's a kafir. He became from the kuffar. And after he became a kafir, he's still saying, Rabbi, my Lord. Affirming Allah is his Lord. He's making dua. He's actually worshipping Allah in this regard. He's making dua. Anzirni, make me live ila yawmi yub'athun, to the day of judgment. Like Allah saying, still you're a kafir. Why? To show you it's not as simple as just knowing these things. Rather, it was to teach the people that there is no one worthy to be worshipped in truth. All of the other religions, they believe Allah exists, but they worship someone else besides Allah. That was the problem. So in the fact that I told this atheist, or I told this Christian, say the Shahada, okay? There is no God except Allah. I didn't suffice them in what they needed to know. In fact, what I taught them was no different to what the Quraysh knew. Okay, what else is wrong with saying that? There is no God but Allah. Say that again, sorry? Yeah, God, the term God is even the wrong word to use. God can come in so many forms. There's God. God can become a female when it's a goddess. God can become plural when it's gods. God can become half when it's demigod. God can have a son of God. God can have a mother of God, which they call Mary. Right? Children of God. Like, God's a term that's got so many problems with it. And we Ahlul Sunnah, we don't use terms that can be misconstrued, that can be stretched, because that time will come when people will start to manipulate that term. They'll start to use that term for its filthy meaning inside of it. And I remember I said this about a year ago. I said, watch, the feminists are going to soon start saying, why can't you say God's a woman? Why you say God? Why you say, because God's a gender, it's male, right? When you say God, now you're saying he's a male. You're saying God's a man. Like in Ahlul Sunnah, do we affirm that Allah is a male? Do we affirm that he's a female? Do we negate he's a female? Allah never gave gender to himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we don't talk about it. We don't open that door. We don't ascribe gender to Allah. He never ascribed the gender to himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So you need evidence to affirm or negate. In the absence of evidence, we withhold. So then the fact that you say God, the feminists are going to get angry one day, right? Because they love to just, something inside them they have to compete with men. So they say, God, you made him a man. Why can't God be a woman? And recently, this silly woman, may Allah guide her, she came out with her album, and it's called God's a Woman, right? Or God's a Female, something like that. What's it called? God's a Woman or God's a Female? Yeah, God's a Woman. And I was like, A'udhu Billah. And we said it just about a year ago. And now they already came out with it. So there's a lot wrong with what I said. So then now I look back and I think to myself, subhanAllah, all those people who I gave da'wah to at my hand, the overwhelming majority of them, they left Islam. I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if they entered in the first place. But they're not practicing till today. Why? Because if you give a person the true taste of Iman, he sniffs it, they don't leave. They can't. Like, and I never gave it to them because I was ignorant of it myself, and then so many people after as well. So the point that I'm making you understand here is conditions. Conditions come before the action. So in me giving da'wah to this person, I had to bring, I should have brought this person to a place where the conditions of La ilaha illallah were satisfied. It's like a checklist. Okay, you're about to say the Shahadah. So 1, 2, 3. Like, I don't have to sit there with a checklist, and some people do that. They go a bit extreme. They're like, okay, we're going to go through the conditions of La ilaha illallah. And then they do it like a checklist, like that. You're right, you can make it more organic and a bit more, less robotic and a bit more, a bit more just like, smooth. But the point is, you have to bring a person to this point. I remember one guy, I was at the da'wah table one time, one guy who took Shahadah for brother. He's not a brother because he wasn't a Muslim, and I'll tell you why he wasn't a Muslim in a second. He told me, he said, come. He said, take the Shahadah of him. So I came. He was like, yeah, okay. Dawah man's going to take a Shahadah. I was like, okay, no problem, inshallah, let me take the Shahadah of the brother. I'm ready. I'm like, you explained everything to him. He goes to me, yes, I explained everything to him. He's so happy, he's so confident. The guy is, about to take a Shahadah. After the Shahadah, literally about 20 minutes after the Shahadah, we're still chatting. He's like, yeah, man, praise be to Jesus. I was like, what? He said something like that, or something like Jesus, Son of God. He said something about Jesus. I was like, what? I was like, bro, you can't say that no more. He's like, what do you mean? Jesus not Son of God? He said, no. I was like, I looked at the guy, what have you been talking to him about for the last half an hour, 45 minutes? The guy is still a kafir, bro. He's telling me Jesus, Son of God. What the hell is wrong with you? And the guy's there like, rah. Because you know what they do? They just, I don't even know what he said to him. And that's so common. That's so common. So it's important that we learn the conditions. The conditions are that which comes before. The conditions are that which comes before. That which comes before. The pillars of that come within. Let's take some statements from the Salaf. We'll just take one statement. We'll take two statements inshallah. Wahab ibn Munabbih rahimahullah ta'ala, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah brings this statement in his Sahih mu'allaqan, where a man came to Wahab ibn Munabbih to show you the Salaf. We're told to follow them in their guidance, right? So the Salaf, they understood this. The Salaf, they understood that you have to have conditions for La ilaha illallah, because they said it's a new thing. They said you've recently brought this concept of conditions. To show you the Salaf, they understood it. A man came to him and he said, Alaysa la ilaha illallah miftahul jannah. The man, he said to him, he said, is la ilaha illallah not the key to Jannah? Is it not the key to paradise? He said, Bala. He said, certainly it is. Walakin laysa miftah, but it will not be the key, illa lahu aslan, unless it has the teeth, the right teeth. So remember, imagine, I got a key right here. Okay? I've got a key right here. Is this a key? So he's trying to say, La ilaha illallah is the key. The same way this is the key, La ilaha illallah is the key. But he said, it will not be the key to Jannah, illa lahu asnan, unless it has the right teeth. So if I take this key and I try to open that door, would that door open? Because the teeth, which is this part of the key, the edges, yeah, they are not made to open the lock in that door. So he said, La ilaha illallah, it is a key. Like you need to come with the right teeth. The teeth are what? Is the conditions. He's trying to say, yeah, it's a key, La ilaha illallah. But it's not just going to open the door of Jannah for you like that. You need to come and make sure that the teeth on the key are correct. And then it will open it for you. He said, if you come with the teeth on the key, the door will open for you. If you don't, then the door will not open for you. The gates of paradise will be closed for you. Another example is a statement by Imam al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, Inna nasan yaqulun, man qala la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. He said, verily the people, they say that whoever states La ilaha illallah, he's going to go into paradise. He said, the people are saying, I'm hearing them talking, whoever says La ilaha illallah is going to go to paradise. Put your hand up if you heard this before. Put your hand up if you heard this before. I remember, may Allah have mercy on my uncle, when I was like 9 years old, 10 years old. I had a cousin, when I was a kid, before I had hit puberty. She used to read me this book called Life After Death. This book was scared the hell out of me. Scared the hell out of me. The judgment, the angel of death, the grave. I'm a little kid and I'm hearing all these things. I'm so scared. I'm so scared, wallahi. So I'm thinking I'm finished. I didn't even hit puberty. At that time I was chilling, but that time I thought I'm finished. And then my uncle came around. May Allah have mercy on him, he's dead now. And he said to me, anyone who says La ilaha illallah is going to go to Jannah. I was like, oh, I didn't know that hadith. Are you sure? He's like, yeah. I'm like, whoo, chilling. From that point onwards, I stopped practicing. I started listening to music. I remember I was a 9-10-year-old youth. I was listening to Snoop Dogg, Tupac, Eminem, the original Slim Shady LP, or this is before the Marshall Matters one, right? The first one, A'udhu Billah. For an 8-9-year-old kid to be listening to that filth, do you know how big it is? That's how my mind got corrupted. I used to go to Pakistan. In Pakistan, they would have these shops where they sold the bootleg albums on cassettes. I used to buy them all, put them in my Walkman, listen. I started watching TV and just, I was like, right, as long as I say La ilaha, I'm going Jannah. I'm chilling. Until later, much later, the opposing reality became evident for me. And then I had to start fixing up. As a side point, one of the things that I feel like always benefited me in my life was the fact that my cousin, I told you, she used to read to me before I hit puberty. There's no free mixing. Before I hit puberty, she used to read to me that book, Life After Death. Because in my life, even though I became non-practicing, I never, ever drunk alcohol, not even once in my life. I never took a single drug. I never even smoked a cigarette. I never went to a single party in my life. Never, ever, alhamdulillah. Never had any desire to go to a party or rave. It just, to be honest, maybe the desire was there, but I always had that something holding me back. And then I realized many years later, what it was that used to keep me from falling in was that stuff that I was taught about, the hellfire, the day of judgment, by my cousin when I was a kid. So it's very important to teach the youngsters these things, because even if they slip, even if they fall off, there's a foundation always to bring them back. But if you don't teach the kid from young anything, and then he becomes 15, 16, 17, and you try to teach him then, it's a bit late. Not to say that it's impossible, but it's harder because it's not been ingrained in him. It's not been fixated in him. Does that make sense? Or fixated in her. So it's important to tell the person from young. The Salaf would say, Al-ilmu fi al-sighar, كنقش على الحجر. Seeking knowledge when you're young is like carving it into a rock. وَالْعِلْمِ فِي الْكِبَرِ. But seeking knowledge when you're old, كَالْكَتَابَةِ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. It's like writing on water. If I have a pile of water and I try to write on it, what's going to happen? It never stays. It never remains. I'm just going to run my pen through the water, or I'm just going to run my finger through the water, and it won't stay. But if there's a rock and I carve it, I chisel it in, centuries will go by, but it's there. So when you seek knowledge when you're old, it's a problem. It's harder. It doesn't stay in. You forget easy. You find it harder to understand. Like, and as a youngster, like Abdul Hamid, like him, Allah barik. Say Allah barik. You will learn. It will benefit you when you're older, inshallah ta'ala. Can I say Allahumma barik? We don't have to fall off the date. Inshallah. So the point is that Imam Hassan al-Basri, going back to a statement, he said, Inna nasin yaqulun, that verily the people are saying, they're saying, Man qala la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. Whoever says la ilaha illallah will enter into paradise. Faqal, he said, Man qala la ilaha illallah. Anyone who says la ilaha illallah, فَأَدَّى حَقَّهَا, and then he gives the right of la ilaha illallah to it. He comes with its rights. وَفَرَضَهَا, and he comes with the obligations of la ilaha illallah, دَخَلَ الْجَنَّةِ, then he will enter paradise. In other words, he's trying to tell you, stop telling the people, stop lying to the people and saying, if you say la ilaha illallah, you're going to go Jannah. It's not as simple as just saying it. So you have to say it and fulfill its rights and fulfill its obligations. Then you can say, then you will go to paradise. Because it's a lie to say just merely saying it will enter you into paradise, right? It's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie. Because you need more than that. Okay. What are these conditions of la ilaha illallah, and how many are there? Some of the scholars said 7, some said 8. The difference between the ones who said 7 and 8 is that the 8th one, the extra one that some of them add, it falls under one of the 7 anyway. So some scholars, just to make it a bit more distinct and easier, they stretch it to 8 because they wanted you to focus on one and bring it out. Does that make sense? But even if you didn't study the 8th one and you only took the 7, it would still necessitate that you came with what the 8th had in it anyway. So write it down, inshallah ta'ala. I want to ask you for all of these 8 next week. Because it's important. The reason why you need to know this is because it's the conditions of la ilaha illallah, right? The first one is ilm, knowledge. You need to come with knowledge of la ilaha illallah before you say it. Number 2, ikhlas. Number 2, certainty. Certainty. You can't doubt la ilaha illallah. If you doubt it, if you have doubt pertaining to la ilaha illallah, then you never came with la ilaha illallah, right? So you have to have certainty. The third one is ikhlas, sincerity. You need to be sincere when you say it. If you're saying la ilaha illallah just because at the time you want to show off, then it won't have any effect. Sidq. You need to be truthful. You can't be lying when you say it. Like the hypocrites. Remember Allah said, Wallahu yashhadu inna al-munafiqina lakadhibun. Allah said, Allah testifies, a bear witness that the hypocrites, they're liars. They said it, but they didn't come with truthfulness before they said it. They lied when they said it. They just did it for their own ulterior motive or reason. So we've got 4 so far. Mahabbah, which is love. That's the 5th one. You have to love la ilaha illallah. And loving la ilaha illallah means loving the statement, loving Allah, and loving the people Allah loves, and the things Allah loves. And it also necessitates hating the ones who Allah hates. And hating what Allah hates. So that any time you disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you've come with a strand of shirk. Even if you're not committing shirk and you're still a Muslim, even if you're practicing Muslim, but you commit a sin, something small as backbiting, or watching filth online, or listening to music, you've come with a strand of shirk. Why? Because Allah hates sins. La ilaha illallah necessitates that you hate that which Allah hates and you love what He loves. You love worship and you hate disobedience to Him. Also from the angle that if you do a sin, you're following your own desires, right? So Allah said, have you not seen the one who took his own desires as a God? He took his desires as a God. So you are placing yourself before Allah. You're placing yourself above La ilaha illallah. So anytime you do a sin, a haram, it has a strand of shirk. And any degree of shirk is scary no matter what degree it is. So that's the fifth one, love. Then you have al-inqiyad. Al-inqiyad, it means submission to La ilaha illallah. You have to submit to it. Then you have al-qubul. Qabul is accepting it. Accepting La ilaha illallah. How many is that? That's 7, right? And the last one is al-kafaru bima yu'badu min dunillah. It is to disbelieve in anything and everything that's worshipped besides Allah. These are the 8. Some don't mention the last one, the 8th one, because if you come with the first 6, you'll automatically come with the 8th. Sorry, if you come with the first 7, you automatically come with the 8th. For example, if you love Allah, you love La ilaha illallah, automatically you hate the opposite, which is any God that's worshipped besides Allah, right? So obviously you disbelieve in them. But then just to mention it, because it's important, for example, Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah, he mentioned the 8th one as well. Kafaru bima yu'badu min dunillah. That the person, he disbelieves in that which is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now someone might ask you, what is the evidence for these conditions? What's the evidence for them? Do you find an ayah in the Quran that says, الشرط الأول العلم والشرط الثاني اليقين والشرط الثالث الإخلاص? Will you find that? No. So then how have you done it? Because is evidence not Quran, Sunnah, Ijma'? So how have the scholars come now? Have they just pulled this out of their back pocket and said, here you go guys, here's 8 conditions for you? If that's the case, what's stopping me from bringing another 2, 3? What's stopping you from deducting 5 or 6? What gave them the right to bring this to the table? How dare they bring it if they don't have evidence? That's the thinking, right? Who could tell me? تتبع الاستقراء. بارك الله فيك. There is a way of inducing evidence from the text. There's something called induction. Induction, science uses it all the time. I'll give you an example of what it is, yeah? Induction is, you go to Wales, and in Wales you have lots of sheep, right? And sheep can be different colors. They can be white, they can be grayish, I think they can be brownish as well, right? They can be black, they're varying degrees of colors. But let's just say you go to Wales and you only see white sheep. Let's just say you only see white sheep. And when you see white sheep, you've never seen sheep anywhere else. This is the only place in the world where you've seen sheep. So then you will induce from that, and you will take from that all sheep in the world are white, right? Until you come across a sheep that's a different color, then you add it to your set. And that's exactly the way science works. They come with a hypothesis, they observe. First they observe. Based on observation, they come to they hypothesize first, then they observe, then they make a theory, right? So they come up with an idea, they observe, they try to search for it, and then based upon what they find, they'll make a theory. Until another scientist comes and he said, oh, wait, you missed it. I actually saw a sheep that was pink. And then they'll add that to the list. Does that make sense? I'll give you an example of this. If someone comes and he says, every single beast or creature that has a jaw, it only moves its bottom jaw. Try it. Does your top move or your bottom jaw move? Try it. So bottom one moves, right? So then lions, are they the same? Lions, the bottom jaw moves. Even a snake, when it eats you, what happens? It unclings its bottom jaw. The anaconda will uncling its bottom jaw. What about the tiger? How is it? Assalamu alaikum. All these animals, it's their bottom jaw that moves. So then is it right for you to say all animals that have jaws, it's their bottom jaws that move? The shark, where is it that moves? It's the bottom. Is there anything that breaks that rule? Is there any animal that breaks that rule? It's the crocodile or the alligator. That's the only animal where its top jaw opens. That's the way science works. It will observe, it will make a theory based on what it observed until someone else comes and proves it wrong. This in English is called induction, in Arabic is called istiqra. Tatabbul wal istiqra. To follow up the variables and to deduct a pattern and to take it out from there. Does that make sense? Now, istiqra can be of two types. It can be tam, which is complete, and it can be naqis. Naqis is that it's deficient. Tam is complete. So then the one who said that every animal that moves its bottom jaw, every animal moves its bottom jaw, was that complete or was that deficient? That was deficient because it missed one out. Okay? So if your istiqra is deficient, it can't be used as an evidence. But if your istiqra is tam, it's complete, then it can be used as an evidence. For example, in the kitab, Shurut Salah wa Arkanuha wa Wajibatuha, the book on the conditions of the prayer, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and he's a Hanbali scholar, so he takes the view of the Hanabila. What did he say? He said, how many conditions to the prayer are there? Shurut Salati Tis'a. He said, the conditions to the prayer are 9. There are 9 conditions to the Salah. And then what did he say? Al-Islam wal-Aql wal-Tamyiz wa-Raf'u al-Hadath wa-Izalatu al-Najasa wa-Satru al-Awrati wa-Dukhul al-Waqt wa-Istiqbal al-Qiblati wa-Niyah. He mentions these 9. Is there going to be an ayah or a hadith in the Quran that lists the conditions of the prayer are 9 and these are all they are? No. Rather, what he done, or the scholars before him done, is that they went through all of the Quran and they went through as much of the Sunnah as they could. And every time they were like, okay, this is a condition, write it down. Okay, that's another one. Write it down. Until they came up with 9. And the only way you can disprove them is by saying, hey, look, this evidence that you brought for this condition is not actually a condition. It's just a Sunnah. It's just a Sunnah for the prayer. It's not a condition of the prayer. Or for you to say, hey, bro, you missed one. Here's another condition, we add it to the list. Does that make sense? So that's why scholars of fiqh, they differ. Some will say there's 9 conditions, some will say there's 8 conditions, depending upon what madhab it is. They will change, because some are arguing, oh, it's not fard, it's sunnah. Some saying it's not, some are saying, no, it's not a condition, it's this or it's that, or does that make sense? But there are some things that scholars did that approach to, which is istiqra, and they unanimously came to an agreement that this is the way that it is. For example, Tawheed. Tawheed is of 3 types. When scholars went through the Quran and the Sunnah, they said, okay, wait, there's a time Allah talks about rububiyyah, His Lordship. There's a time when Tawheed is mentioned in the context of uluhiyyah. There's a time when Tawheed is mentioned in the context of asma'i wal sifat, Allah's names and attributes. They say, okay, that's 3, there you go. For example, the scholars of the Arabic language do this as well, the scholars of grammar. Kalam in the Arabic language, Ahmed, what is it? What is speech in the Arabic language? How many things does it divide into? You know this, okay? You took it in the first lesson. I hope you did. I hope Ustad Khalid taught you this way. The Arabic language, kalam, speech, divides into what? How many things? 3 things. What are they? Ism, fi'l, harf. You know it, right? See? The noun, the verb, and the particle. Can anyone come and say, what's your evidence for that? Can anyone come and say, what ayah do you have, what hadith do you have to say these are 3? Well, the scholars looked at the language and they said, okay, they followed it up. And then they said, okay. A part of the language is a verb, a part of the language is a noun, and a part of the language is a particle. And no one ever brought an extra one, and no one ever took one away and said, no, it's not 3, it's 2. So then it became unanimous agreement, this is the way that it is. So the concept of tatabu' al-istiqra is used. You use it for the Quran and Sunnah all the time. You're not saying, I'm just literally pulling out 9 things from my logic. You're saying, I'm going through the Quran and Sunnah, and every time I find a condition, I'm writing it down, and then this is it, now I've compiled 8 for La ilaha illallah, or 7, depending on which way you look at it. It's based on the Quran and Sunnah. The Quran and Sunnah doesn't mention it in a list form. You put it in a list form after you follow the Quran and Sunnah. Does that make sense? So what we will look is for the evidence that you use for each one. Does that make sense? And that's the way that it works. And the reason I thought it's good to mention this is because some people who are against the da'wah to tawheed and da'wah to la ilaha illallah, they'll come and they'll argue this point. They say, what's your evidence for it? You claim about being Quran, Sunnah all the time. What ayah mentions all these conditions? So we say their conditions are mentioned all over the Quran. They're mentioned all over the Sunnah, and I'm going to mention each of them to you. But to summarize it, we make it easy. After the scholars followed it up, they came to the conclusion. So you wouldn't have to go through the whole Quran and try and pick it out yourself. They said there's 8. Makes life easy, right? Beautiful. Let's go to the first condition without any further ado. Brothers, the first condition is knowledge. The first condition of La ilaha illallah is knowledge. What's the evidence for this? What's the evidence to prove that you need to come with knowledge before you say La ilaha illallah? You need to come with knowledge before you utter this statement. Surah Muhammad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَعْلَمْ, Allah commanded you and me, He said, have knowledge. Then after, He said, أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, that there is none worthy of worship, worthy to be worshipped in truth except for Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned La ilaha illallah, then before He mentioned knowledge. Who understood it in this way? Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah in his Sahih, he has a chapter, bab, he called it the chapter of what? Al-ilmu qabla al-qawli wal-amal. He said chapter, knowledge comes before actions and before statements. Then he brought this ayah as an evidence because Allah first, before He commanded you to come with the action of La ilaha illallah, He commanded you to have knowledge of La ilaha illallah first. To show you that the one who doesn't know what La ilaha illallah means, can he be a Muslim? Then how sad and strange and shocking is that? That when you guys came to this class, the second class we took what La ilaha illallah means. And let's be honest, a lot of you, did you know what it meant? Now, I'm not going to say you're a kafir or you're a kuffar or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to get at here. But how scary is that? That your whole life, you didn't know what La ilaha illallah meant. And it's a condition of your La ilaha illallah that you have knowledge of it prior. That you have knowledge of it prior. And how might that case be with the majority of people outside? But like when you tell people, listen, akhi, come to a class on La ilaha illallah, they don't want to come and study it. Knowing that it's the most important thing for them. Knowing that this is the most necessary thing for them. But you say, akhi, we do a class on the women of Jannah. People start driving from different parts of the country to come down. Some brothers didn't even come for the women of Jannah class. The point is that, brothers, it's necessary. Your whole life revolves around studying this. Is there an ayah in the Quran except that it talks about La ilaha illallah? Is there an ayah in the Quran except that it talks about La ilaha illallah? Wallahi, this will shock you, my brothers. This will shock you. The whole Quran can be divided into 5 things, Imam Ibn Qayyim said. The whole Quran can be divided into 5 things. The first thing is prohibitions. First thing is prohibitions. The second thing is commands. The third thing is stories. The third thing is not just stories, akhbar, news. Stories of the prophets from before. News with regards to the day of judgment. Sa'ad. What was the other 2 again? What was the other 2? The Quran it revolves around 5 topics. My mind has gone blank. Prohibitions, commands, akhbar. Huh? Yes, stories. Alright, my mind's gone blank. Say that again, sorry? No, that. No, that comes in the akhbar. No. Okay, don't worry. You can divide it into 3. Even these 3, you can. Okay, let's start again. It will still be shocking, inshallah. Don't worry. The whole Quran can be divided into 3 things. The whole Quran can be divided into 3 things. Can be divided into 3 things. Number 1, prohibitions. Number 2, commands. And number 3, news. Akhbar. This is stories of the prophets. What will happen with regards to the day of judgment, whatever have you. all of these three things, there's nothing that you say is in the Quran except that it falls under one of these. Refutations falls under prohibitions, right? So anything that you bring will fall under this. So the prohibitions, what's that about? It's like what Allah told you not to do, right? It's how to worship Allah by staying away from what He told you to stay away from. What's the command? How to worship Allah by doing what He told you to do. What about all the stories? The stories of all the prophets. Every prophet is what? أَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ مَا لَكُمْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُهُ. Every prophet mentioned this. Worship Allah alone. There's no other God to be worshipped besides Him. All the prophets are constantly debating with the people one thing and one thing only. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. We never sent a messenger to His people except that He was teaching the people to worship Allah alone and stay away from these false gods. What about the day of judgment? People are going to be going to Jannah because of La ilaha illallah, and they're going to be going to Jahannam because of their shortcomings on La ilaha illallah. So then the whole Quran revolves around what La ilaha illallah. Every ayah La ilaha illallah is in there. Ayat pertaining to nikah is what La ilaha illallah is in there, because it is Allah commanded you to do it in this way, or He prohibited you to do it in that way. And worshipping Allah means obeying His commands and staying away from His prohibitions. So then every ayah in the Quran is La ilaha illallah. If you come to a library and you see books upon books upon books upon books, books of the science of hadith there, books on usul tafsir there, books on the language there, all of them are helping you to understand the Quran, and the whole Quran is helping you to understand La ilaha illallah. Nothing more, nothing less. Hatta in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages you to study other subjects, so that you can then understand La ilaha illallah better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you in the Quran, He encourages you towards science. What is science? A natural study of the physical world and its components and how they all work together. It's a study of the physical, natural world. What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in so many places of the Quran? إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَةٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, in the alternation of the night and the day is what? Signs for those who have intellect. Then the ones who observe these signs, the night and the day and the heavens and the earth, and they observe the natural world, Allah said it leads them to the conclusion that they say, what? Subhanaka Rabbina faqina adhab an-nar. They say, exalted are you, Allah. They'll look at the mountains and the conclusion they'll come to, Subhanallah, because there is Allah created this. He deserves to be worshipped. Faqina adhab an-nar. Save us from the hellfire. So then when you study science, it should lead you to what? It should lead you to say, Subhanallah. The more you study the universe, the more you study, the way you look, one tiny little atom, tiny small atom, it's not even visible from the naked eye. If you snap it in half, what happens? Of course, an atomic bomb, and a massive release of energy, right? Look at how Allah packaged such intense power in something so small. And something so small. All the atoms that me and you are made of, if you split them, what happens? Not that I'm encouraging anything, okay? Science, just having a science lesson, inshallah ta'ala. The point is, look at that. When a person who studies that will think, wow. A person who studies the way that the earth orbits, and he'll say, look, every single day, the earth is orbiting on a particular axis. If it was slightly too close, the environment and the climate would be too hot for life to exist on earth. It was slightly further from its orbit, it would be too cold for life to exist on this earth. The way Allah positioned everything, the way the atmosphere is created such that things are always attacking the earth from the sky, from space. Like in the atmosphere is made strong, so it takes the impact of everything when it's coming in towards the earth. Everything, the way Allah Azza wa Jalla created this universe, it will lead you to think, Subhanallah, there is design, there is creator, there's creation, there's intent behind this. It will lead the person to say, Subhanallah. That when a person studies biology, a person looks at the way that the heart is and the way that it works, the digestive, every single thing. When you study what Allah, He tells you to look at the animals, to observe the animals, to look at the ibil, the way that the camel was made. When you study that, subhanAllah, these are ayat of Allah's existence, the way that He made these animals. Hatta Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it brings our attention towards the plants. Look at the plants and the way they are and the way, everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even appeals to sociology sometimes, to our psychology sometimes. So when a person studies psychology, they realize the way, how complex the human mind is and the human's emotions and the way that they work. There is real design and intent behind all of these things. So it leads to the person knowing La ilaha illallah. Greater, it reinforces it for them. So then no matter what you study, hatta if you study linguistics, it brings you to the conclusion that Allah exists. Allah said in the Quran, عَلَّمَهُ الْبَيَانِ. It is Allah who taught them speech. Allah said Allah taught them speech. Speech is not something you learned. Who taught you how to walk? You learned how to walk, right? With Allah's permission. You learned. It wasn't ingrained. You didn't come out of your mother's womb ready to walk, right? It was something that you learn over time, right? Like in speech, it's not something you can learn over time. You can't learn. Linguists tell you it's too complex. That you take a set number of letters from the alphabet. From it you form words, okay? From it you form words. From it you form words. These words, you put them in sentence structure with perfect grammar, okay? And it makes sense. He said, if you say this is down to evolution, it's impossible because the probability is too much. The probability is too high. It's insane to say human beings developed a language through a process of natural selection. Because you've got a finite set of letters, and these letters, there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of words. And then these words, you've got to form them into sentences. This is something that they said is called specified probability. It can't happen. Like for example, if I took my hands and I started smashing them on the keyboard, okay, would a sentence ever come out? No, because in order for me to write a sentence, I need to be able to move my fingers around, right? I need to be able to move my fingers around. But if I smash my hands on the keyboard, the way the hands are, it will only reach a certain amount of letters that are right in front of me. But to move my fingers around to the various parts of the keyboard, I need to be able to do that to be able to possibly be able to write a sentence. That's why they did a study in King's College University in London, where they said if a monkey was smashing his hands on the keyboard, how long would it take for him to write to be or not to be, which is a sentence from Shakespeare's play? How long would it take for him to write to be or not to be? How long would it take for that to appear in front of him for the screen? They said it would take 17 billion years. 17 billion years. These are the atheists are telling you. Evolutionists are telling you. Sorry, these are mathematicians that are telling you. Here's the probability. You want to talk about probability? That's how long it would take. What's shocking there, as a side point, is that they tell you that the earth came together as a result of a natural process, right? The earth, forget the earth, this universe has only existed for 14 billion years. This universe, forget the earth, the universe with its size and its complexity, they said it's been around for 14 billion years. And they want us to believe that the universe came around by chance, but a monkey by chance, if he was to write to be or not to be, would take 17 billion years. That's what they tell us. That's what they tell us, right? The point is, coming back to the point I'm making, is that if it would take a monkey 17 billion years to end up having written to be or not to be on the screen just by smashing it right here, right? 17 billion years. Then how long would it take to be able to actually acquire the skill of taking all of these letters on the keyboard? I've got a keyboard that comes off. Taking all these letters that are on the keyboard, digesting them, and being able to actually form words and sentences and put them into grammar. It would take a lot longer, right? How long would it take? It would take a very long time. If it would just take 17 billion years for it to just come out with the random words to be or not to be on the screen, it would take him way longer to be able to acquire the skill to take these letters and actually ascribe meaning to them in his head and to be able to put them into sentences, right? So that's why the scholars of language, the linguistics, they said it's impossible for the person to acquire this skill. This baby who just came out of the mother's womb doesn't know the difference between blue or red, but at the age of 1, 2 is starting to form sentences. How? They said there's no other explanation except that the ability to actually comprehend language has been placed inside of us. Noam Chomsky, who's one of the leading linguists in the world, some of them say he's the most intelligent man on the face of the planet. This is part of his theory, the acquisition of language. How do we acquire language? He said this is something that's ingrained within us. We don't know how it came from though. We don't know how it got here. Allah said in the Quran, "Allamahu al-bayan." I taught you language. Allah, He placed it inside of you and me. So that even when you study language, you study linguistics, you think subhanAllah, it takes you back to La ilaha illallah. So the point that I'm making here, my brothers, my sisters, is the importance of seeking knowledge, Quranic and secular. Why? Because both Islamic Shari'i knowledge, Quran and Sunnah, and secular knowledge, if it's done in the right way, with the right objective, will always bring you back to La ilaha illallah. It will always bring you back to La ilaha illallah. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll carry on next lesson. It's time for adhan now. Subhanaka rabbi bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum, guys. We believe that everyone should have access to the obligatory things that they need to know, the obligatory knowledge that they need to know in order to be a Muslim and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to at least a basic level. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. Seeking knowledge is obligatory upon every single Muslim. In other words, it means if you're not seeking that obligatory knowledge that you need, that minimum knowledge that you need, then you and I could actually be sinning. In fact, we would be sinners by not seeking that knowledge. But alhamdulillah, in order to solve that problem, we put together something called the Knowledge College. The Knowledge College is an online Islamic studies institute where we teach you how to study your religion. Brothers and sisters, you can start studying it right now by going to the link below, checking out the website, and hopefully if you like what you see, you can register inshallah ta'ala and start your pursuit of seeking knowledge. We start on a basic level and then alhamdulillah we work our way up to the top. Let's do that together inshallah. Check out the link below, Knowledge College. See you there. Assalamu alaikum.